So apparently one of the reasons that the Saudis are terrified is because Iran kind of showed its capabilities in September 2019. They launched around 20 drones and precision-guided cruise missiles at where Saudi Arabia's oil fields, the center of its oil fields in Abqaiq, and there was a lot of damage, obviously. So these missiles, they came in, they flew really low, they were completely undetectable. The Saudis didn't detect them. The US radar couldn't detect them. And Israel also, when they saw this, they were absolutely astounded by it. And according to Friedman, they described this as the Middle East Pearl Harbor. So this has caused a lot of concern on the part of Israel, on the part of Saudi Arabia, on the part of the United Arab Emirates, right? Because the conventional wisdom, they kind of know that if Iran has nukes, it's not really going to use them because that would be suicidal, right? And again, you may have some counterpoints to that. But when it comes to this kind of technology, like just stealth precision missiles, right? Precision guided missiles. I mean, this is the kind of thing that can cause tremendous damage because they're also trying to sell them, these missiles, this technology to Lebanon, right? To Yemen. And if you remember, like 2006, when Hezbollah, they did the war on Israel, they caused quite a bit of damage. I mean, Israel had to put up a fight to eventually put all of that stuff to rest, that conflict to rest. But if they had precision-guided missiles at that time that they got from Iran the way that they're using right now, it could be absolutely devastating. So this is another reality, I think, that they're going to face, the US and Israel are going to have to contend with. So in response to this, Trump did increase US troop presence. He sent several thousand troops to Saudi Arabia, and he also sent them, I think, it says here, anti-missile batteries to bolster the defense. But at the same time, there is a lot of fear on the part of Saudi Arabia and Israel and the US in terms of like these new capabilities that Iran has now that they didn't before. And now that Iran deal's gone, if Biden actually lifts the sanctions, Iran has said that it's going to go right back to enriching all of its uranium and continuing with its nuclear plan. So the question is, what are you going to do? Are you going to do the deal in exchange for lifting the sanctions, or are you going to keep the sanctions on and then try to come up with a new deal? So that's also another pretty big challenge for them.
And your understanding is that the nuclear issue is not that big of a deal anymore compared to the missile?
No. The nuclear issue is a deal. Of course, it's a big deal. But now there is this new, more acute threat, right? Like, as in,
but that
Iran
article, before we went live, you mentioned that article made it seem like the nuclear deal, like Iran going nuclear, is not that big of a threat anymore because they're never going to be. Yeah,
so I'll say what it says here. Okay, I'll actually read it out because it's kind of interesting. It says that this is where the problems will start for Biden. Yes, Israel and the Sunni Arab states want to make sure that Iran can never develop a nuclear weapon. So that's still a priority. But some Israeli military experts will tell you today that the prospect of Iran having a nuke is not what keeps them up at night, because they don't see Tehran using it. That would be suicide, and Iran's clerical leaders are not suicidal. They are, though, homicidal. And Iran's new preferred weapons for homicide are the precision-guided missiles that it used on Saudi Arabia.
This is a major misunderstanding by these. Who's this commentator?
Oh no, this is Thomas Friedman. He's in touch with all of the military experts in Israel. Like he's not. He's an
idiot. Then he's an idiot. Okay, or he's an idiot. Well, he's
not an idiot. He's
being moronic here. Okay, because here's the thing. I remember his takes on Saudi Arabia was also, I was right and he was wrong. Okay. When it comes to Ben Salman, remember that. So don't listen to what?
Saudi Oh, when it comes Salman. To Ben Salman,
when he had so much hope. Isn't this the same guy that was so hopeful about the Ben Salman reform? And I was like, that is so naive.
He was also very hopeful about the Iraq war. So I'll tell you where I think.
No, can you confirm what I'm saying though? Like, this is the same guy that yes.
This guy.
So let me answer you.
Wait, let me clear up what this guy said.
But
this guy was actually sort of measured about MBS. He said that this could go in a very good way. That was what he
No,
said.
it could
Now,
have never gone. I
okay,
was told. Yeah, I
yeah,
came out and told that that's dumb. That's a
yeah,
dumb take, and I was right. Right.
but let me just, Armin, just let me just explain the thing.
But I
So when
wasn't
it comes,
finished though. Okay, go ahead.
I know, just, before you make the point, right? So when it comes to his analysis about the Iraq War, about MBS and everything, yeah, he's very wrong a lot of the times, right? But when it comes to his reporting, when he's actually talking about what the Israel military experts or the military leaders are saying, what certain presidents are thinking in terms of their foreign policy, so he's actually quite frequently consulted. He interviews, like he interviewed Obama, he interviewed Biden, he interviewed Trump. So he's done, and especially in the Middle East, like MBS and all these guys, he's got a direct line to all of them. So he's very
Can
in
I?
touch with them in terms of reporting these things. Yeah.
So you just said the same thing 4 different ways, but can I get my time to
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
okay, to say, okay, because I was about to talk about
You're taking up your time.
yeah. So I was gonna say he's a moron. The reason why is that this idea, like, he's basically bringing up a point that was never an issue. The whole idea of being against Iran that has access to nuclear weapons is not about them being them using it. That is like, what is he even responding to? Of course they're not going to use it if they have it, but the consequences of them having a nuclear weapon is going to be catastrophic, even if they never use it, and they are never going to use it, right? They are going to be able to throw their weight around the Middle East a lot more aggressively than they are. I mean, look at the difference between the way they treat North Korea than they treat Iran. Okay, North Korea is not suicidal either. Okay, but look at the way negotiations are done with North Korea. Look at the way negotiations were done with what happened to Gaddafi after he got rid of his weapons. Right? They're like, Iran is looking at it and like, you know what? We don't want the Gaddafi outcome. We want the North Korea outcome. Obviously, right? Imagine like the empire building that Iran, the Islamic Republic, is doing around the region. It's how bold they are right now. Imagine if they had the assurance that they will never be attacked. Imagine what would they do once they have a nuclear weapon. Do you think that, do you think they need to use it to be a lot more destructive? Right?
Yeah.
Who are these people that we are responding to? That people who thought like, oh yeah, Iran, if they have a nuclear weapon, they're probably going to use it. Like, use it against who? Like, of course that's going to be the end of them. Like the day after. Like the day after, the entire world is going to be on their borders. Like, who is this a response to? Of course, like, this was never an issue, right? So this is my point.
So I'll paraphrase, what I think he's saying, and then my interpretation of it and how I take it is that the nuclear issue is still a huge deal for all the reasons you're saying. It's going to start an arms race. They're pretty much in the Middle East, where there are a lot of actors, where it's the worst place that you want to start an arms race in. So the nuclear thing is a big problem. Okay. But in addition to that, at first people thought, well, they're not going to use the nuclear weapons. So, we just have to worry about containing it. But now there's a problem where, okay, we're containing the nuclear weapons, but now they have this aggressive capability with these really amazing precision guided missiles that our radar cannot detect, which actually is a direct threat. These are things that can hit our cities. We saw that in 2006 from Lebanon with Hezbollah, right? And now if it's precision guided and if this kind of technology, how are we going to stop it? Okay, so it's not that the nuclear issue is good. We don't have to worry about the nukes anymore. That's not the point. The point is that issue was already there, but now there's this new, more acute threat that's superimposed on it that is not just about a long-term strategic concern about the Middle East, but it's also a defensive concern that, okay, this can actually hit us. So it has been added onto it, which is why, and this
was
is
always there. It was okay. So let me just say, this is another thing that you could give some. You could say that the Trump administration had some points, right? That the problem with the first deal was the fact that the missiles were never mentioned, right? And when Trump was saying that, it's very interesting because the Europeans were not agreeing with that, right? They're like, oh, the deal was great and all. But now that Trump is leaving,
yeah,
the Europeans are like, maybe if we're gonna come back to this deal, we should mention
Yes.
the missiles, right?
Yes.
So all the problems that the Trump administration had with the deal, now Europeans are like coming after. This isn't okay. So here's the thing. Here's how difficult it is to be strategic with all of this, okay? Because it does seem genius for the Islamic Republic, because the Islamic Republic has mastered the asymmetrical warfare, right? With very, very little budget, you are causing a lot of cost for countries like Saudi Arabia that do the biggest weapons deals in history with the United States, and they like deals that the most advanced modern weapons that money could buy. Saudi Arabia buys it for defense and for attack from United States, and they are being with all of that, they're being defeated by a bunch of speedboats in the Persian Gulf, by a bunch of Houthis that didn't even used to have shoes, and by some really, really, like, just a couple of tens of thousands of dollars worth of drone technology that manages to just sneak in and to go and attack the underbelly of the world's economy, which the oil. What percentage of the oil of the world comes from the Hormuz Strip? I forgot what it was, but it was a major percentage. Yeah, but like by just that, like, and the fact that Saudi Arabia keeps losing over and over and over and over again, even though they are way more militarily advanced, more advanced than Iran could ever be, is just shows that how much. And I think this is an outcome of the Iran-Iraq war, right? And also all the tactics that Iran had to learn, dealing with enemies much bigger than it. So because they learned that the cost of going out going to direct war, like they don't want to do that again, right? They're like, this is too much. So they have really figured out how to cause maximum damage without very little ties back to Tehran, direct ties to Tehran, with very little investment, right? And defending yourself against that is really difficult, right? However, all of this, I mean, Saudis were shocked. They started like, look, and because with those drone attacks, that was a sign, because it could have been a lot worse, right? I mean, imagine if Iran, without it showing any of its army, without having any ties to Tehran, managed to devastate their IPO of Aramco, right? Like the thing that they wanted to privatize to raise money for their 2030 plan in Saudi Arabia, that was devastated with just a bunch of drones. Imagine if Iran all of a sudden and Saudi Arabia decide to go to war with each other. Like Saudi Arabia is like, yeah, we can't deal with this. Like, there's no way we can deal with this, right? So Saudi Arabia is like realizing how vulnerable they are with Iran next to them. Like that was
this was a signal. This was just a signal, right? And that's the thing. I mean, there's increasing the troops there by 5,000, and then giving them anti-missile batteries. All of these things that the Trump administration is doing, right, it shows that there is concern. There is a lot of fear, right, about what they can do. So,
hey guys, if you want to join these streams live, get your comments and questions read by Ali and Armin and the guests, and most importantly, to get full access to the full video versions of all these episodes, become a patron. Link in the description below.